We are back for the second episode of building the super mega awesome fastest street S2000 of all time, with some asterisk record, I'm sure. So I left you last time with basically starting to take the hot side off the engine. We basically got that off and called it quits for the day. Pretty good first day of working on the car. We ran through what the overall project was going to entail, touch on some of the parts, things like that. Since then, I've had 5 or 6 hours to work on the car, and we are at the point now where the engine is ready to come out. There's been a bunch of additional things done at this point that don't have to be done for the engine to come out, but with the scope of this project, I wasn't comfortable putting kind of a burned up engine harness or engine bay harnesses back in the car. So like I touched on last time, there's been some pretty major heat damage on some of the things. The headlight harness wiring was really kind of hacked up, just self-tapping screws in the inner fender well, which I don't think I want to send the car back to a good customer like that. So I'm going to go ahead and probably get some new or very good condition used engine bay harnesses, and then like I said, Race Spec in New York is going to go ahead and build a custom engine harness for everything else, so that all the wiring is going to be pristine, no worries, not having to track down some open circuit or some wires melted together. So yeah, I want to go ahead and get all that stuff pulled back. You can see I've got basically all the harnesses ready to come out. I'll just wait till the engine's out so I can maybe work from inside the engine bay and get the rest out. Some of it will have to come out through the interior itself. As far as interesting little tidbits from where I got last, VTEC solenoid. So it's got a filter screen internal on it, and if you can kind of see there, we've got some rather decent size metal components in there that the filter is caught. So that's going to be interesting to see if we can source those when we get the engine out today and start teardown on it. As far as the turbo kit that came off, it looks to be in pretty decent shape. It's best I can tell, it's just the basic Inline Pro street turbo kit, just basic journal bearing precision, probably 62 millimeter turbo. So nothing crazy bad there. The intercooler has had some very nice repairs done. It looks like somebody just crammed the intercooler against the AC components back here and didn't want to buy a new one, which I guess I can understand. So yeah, that's where we're at for right now. So today I've already got the transmission ready to come out, minus lowering the subframe down. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the transmission out. I've already got a buyer for stock transmission, so that's nice. Then we'll go ahead and use the engine hoist over there, get the engine out, get it on the stand, start tear down. And like I said, I'm super excited to see what we find there. Hopefully we can find where those particles and metal material has come from that's stuck in the VTEC solenoid. So yeah, let's get going on all that. We got no motors, Ted. Engine is out. It wasn't too bad at all. So we've got it on the hoist. I need to go ahead and get the clutch and the flywheel off so I can put it on the engine stand. And then the fun part of actually tearing the motor down, getting to see how the stock components have been standing up, potentially find some issues, but I'm not sure there. So yeah, I've been looking forward to this, so let's get to it. All right, well, there it is. The GoPro ran out right before I was about to pull the crank out of the block, but yes, we got a good time lapse of the teardown of all that, and kind of what I was expecting to find. We did find a couple of the main bearings were definitely on their way out. So that was a lot of the material that I saw, like in the VTEC solenoid, and then we pulled the oil pan off, and quite a bit of bearing material in there. The rod bearings all looked really, really good, but there's definitely some main bearing issues. I guess it's a good thing the car came apart now. I don't know how much longer it would have stayed running in its current condition. I don't even know if the previous owner had any idea that there was an issue, but it was pretty obvious once we got inside the VTEC solenoid and saw the bearing material in there. As far as other weird things that we found, there's actually, where'd it go? Anyways, there's basically a sleeve that the cam chain gear runs on, and it actually had like a portion of it broken off, which is the first time I'd ever seen that out of a few of these I've had the cylinder heads off of. So that was pretty weird to see. Let's see if we can show it there. So yeah, that was very odd to find. Basically got the valve cover off and started getting the valve train stuff apart, and noticed that. I actually think I heard the material fall down in the oil pan, so I'm sure it's in that just massacre of nasty fluid. Don't really feel like digging that out. So, I mean, we got a pretty good idea what was going on with the engine. Besides that, nothing looks unusable as far as like the block goes. The factory crank, valve train stuff. I need to get the roller rockers set up, taken apart, because sometimes some of the tubes in there can get some scoring on them. My car's had it happen a few times, so I need to get that all checked out. I think I'm going to probably sell the AP1 crank and put an AP2 crank in it. You know, getting the extra 0.2 displacement is going to be a pretty good move for this car. It's going to be predominantly on the street. We don't really lose anything as far as total RPM we can turn, and we pick up some stroke, so why not do it? One thing I touched on was that the valve train, the roller rocker assembly that's stock on the S2000 in here looks pretty good. I wanted to do a really thorough cleaning and inspection on it before, you know, saying everything's good to go on it or condemning it, mainly because with the amount of bearing material we had in there, there's a lot of little holes and crevices and oil passages that the bearing material could get stuck in. And the last thing I want to have happen is, you know, we put this car together and we have, you know, an engine failure because I didn't clean something right. I've seen it happen with, luckily none of my motors, but some other engine assemblies that have been put in from shops that buy engines from us and don't clean, like dry some lines out properly. Just little things like that can cost you, you know, a really expensive motor and, you know, a ton of man hours. So that was the last thing I want to have happen. So we can kind of look at some of the valve train components if you're not really familiar with the stuff in the S2000, because it's a really trick setup. So, you know, you've got roller rocker assemblies, and I've actually had these tubes that they ride on in my S2000 get scarred up pretty bad. I don't really know, you know, what caused it in mine, but obviously any type of foreign material is going to get caught in there, and as these are rotating on it, you know, that's going to cause wear. And then you've got these 5 caps that serve as both the cam caps, you know, the lower portions of them, and the actual receivers for these shafts. And, you know, anything that gets caught in those, you know, could be really bad. On the back of the last one, there's a little bit of wear where the cam rides in the back, but it's nothing that should be unsalvageable. You know, I've got all the pins, the actuating pins that are in these assemblies taken out, cleaned. Everything looks really, really good, which obviously I was happy about. There's no weird scoring on the cams or anything like that. And then, like I touched on, I am going to put an AP2 crank in it. It looks like the AP1 crank should still be good, but obviously I don't want to sell it to somebody without getting it checked out by someone more qualified than myself, and, you know, not just running my fingers over it. I do think that I'm going to go ahead and put a new OEM oil pump in it, simply because, you know, you've got basically the gear in there that rides inside the housing. And let's see if we can get a good look. So inside that housing, there is actually a little bit of wear. I don't know if you can see it in there, but basically just past that part of the gear in the housing,
You know, you want those to be extremely smooth, tight clearances, and we've got pretty good gouging in there. There's a little bit on the actual gear itself, but the housing is my main concern. Got some pretty decent wear on the mating side of that housing too, and a little bit on the outer portion of that gear, which is where the scoring on the first housing we looked at is coming from. These engines and oil pumps have really, really good oil pressure with the factory oil pump. Most of the time mine never falls below maybe 85 to 90 psi all the way across, you know, 1,000 horsepower, 9,500 RPM pull, which is, you know, better than some of the dry sump cars that I've seen on other engine applications. But, you know, the factory oiling system is really well engineered, but I'm definitely not going to put a questionable oil pump back in, you know, a $15,000 engine. That would just be, you know, I'd be an idiot to do that. So I'm not going to. So yeah, we'll put, you know, a new oil pump in it, a known good AP2 crank that obviously I'll get checked out. The valve train should be usable. Obviously the blocks can get taken care of. Inline Pro has a really good sleeve program for that. My machinist and short block assembler Watt will handle everything in as far as the short block stuff goes, refreshing the head, check everything out there. And yeah, we should have a really, really badass engine that once the parts start rolling in, I'll kind of go over different parts, why we're using them, you know, maybe some failures that I've seen from different parts in the past. And yeah, that should do it for this second video. Hope you guys like it. Again, you know, subscribe if you want to keep up the build. A ton of you guys did that on the first video, which I'm extremely thankful of. I'm really happy that people even give, you know, a crap about me or this car that we're going to do. And yeah, tune in next time.